What I want to show you is that you can now have all of the things, because if you crop, let's say like this is what you want, right? Bring that into Photoshop. You know what? We could even widen it so the eyeball is directly center. I think this is a great example of our new technology here called generative fill. Now, to remind you, generative fill is not allowed in 52 frames if you are creating it as your main subject. But it is allowed if you're reading our write-ups about it when you are supporting your main subject, or they're just not the main element, but it's supporting your story. So here, I think this is a perfect example where you're getting the best of all worlds. This was your intent, right? What your mind saw was that this eye was in the center. You just couldn't quite get there. So with Photoshop, now it's quite easy to get there. I'm going to open this up in Camera Raw. We have the eyeball in the center, but actually, I think it's really the eye. It's the eye that we want in the center. I think that is better. And then I'll just tweak a little bit, kind of the opposite of the dartboard critique, where we'll take a radial gradient, go right in the center here, hold shift, and then we'll just expand that this way. And we'll hit X to invert and just lower slightly exposure, highlights. And then I'm going to go over to the mask here. You can't see because my stupid face is in the way. We're going to go over to the mask and go to duplicate and invert, right? And that just makes a new mask with the eye. And then we could raise exposure a little bit if we want, or even the whites. Which is kind of interesting. And I just want to raise clarity just a bit, just a touch. Okay, we're going to hit done, and then we could look at the before and after. So here was Walter's before. Let me get my stupid face back on here. All right. I feel like all is right in the world again. Here's the before, and here's the after. So it's subtle, right? But I think you could see just how much the compositional tweak makes a difference, and how much just amping that clarity in the center. Again, like that's the focus here, is the center. So everything that helps that along, it's very subtle, but I just darkened this area around the eye. I just darkened it a bit, and then I just whitened the eye just a bit and added that clarity. And suddenly, it looks more real. It looks more lifelike. It looks like it has more detail. The story is more engaging, and that's all geometry, right? That's composition. That's in the center. That's the whole point of this exercise. Is this is not typical composition, as you know, in photography, but when used, it is quite strong. So figure out a way to use it so it works. You don't want just a person smiling in the middle of the frame. But when you find a point of interest and really enable that focus to the viewer in a very dramatic way, that yields a very strong dramatic picture. I think that kind of tells it, right? Because it's very subtle, the geometry. Look at what we added up here. The bricks up here, right? It's like the top two bricks are Photoshop, which is crazy, right? If you look closer, you could see like it does need more work. Like there's no lines here, and this line is not straight. So if you were really doing this, you would go through it with a bit more fine. Like this lacks detail. You could see the lack of detail here. So maybe take it in smaller chunks. Gen fill isn't there yet, but if you're not really going in there and looking with a critical eye, it totally passes off, like from this perspective. But my point is just adding this little bit up here made a really dramatic difference in just how we perceive it, how we look at it. And again, it's all that That center focus. That's the whole idea of what we're doing here. Liz,